Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I normally deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. However, in this video we're going to do something a little bit different. It's something I've done before. If you look at the end of my Season 1 videos around Scourge, basically I was really unhappy with some of the decks that were in the Scourge set, and I thought, like, you know what? There were interesting themes in the set that I think could have been explored better, and they could have been done via a theme deck. So that's what I've done here with Kamigawa, because honestly, there are two decks in Kamigawa that were really disappointing for me to look at and review. So one was Spirit Bane, which is in Champions, and it was this weird mono red, not quite burn deck. It had this weird theme of exiling creatures when you dealt damage to them, which was it was such a weird kind of strategy to focus on. And the other one was Saratami's Wisdom from Saviours. Saviours, I think, is kind of regarded as not a great set, but this is white blue, and I think it contained all the worst parts of Kamigawa block. I think there's no other way of putting it. It was not great in my opinion. But I mean, that doesn't mean there weren't good things in Kamigawa. So I thought what I'll do is I'll come up with say let's do the hypothesis that I'm in charge at, say, why don't you make some pre-constructed decks for Champions of Kamigawa and Saviours of Kamigawa, and let's say for Champions of Kamigawa I do everything that was in there, so Kami Reborn and the Samurai one and the Snake one. And I come up with another one to replace Spirit Bane, and exactly the same for Saviours. Let's say I do the other three, and I come up with something to replace Saratami's Wisdom. So, what are my deck construction rules to make these feel like pre-constructed decks? So, it have to be 60 cards, consist of 2 rares and 13 uncommons, and the rest are commons. The rares have to be from the set that they're in. So for example, in Champions of Kamigawa, the rares have to be from Champions, and in Saviours they have to be from Saviours. And I would say at least 50% of non-basic land cards in the deck have to be from the same set. So in Champions that's fine because that was the only Kamigawa set at the time, but in Saviours that means at least half the cards have to try and be from Saviours of Kamigawa, because the whole idea is showing off the new cards from the new set. So, let's talk about what I put together. So the first one, and it blows my mind that this was actually not a precon. It's such an obvious theme. It was there in the set. So remember, this is replacing Spirit Bane. So I've gone with a red-blue deck, which I've called Arcane Secrets. And the theme is all around arcane spells and splice, because that is a theme that's all the way through the block, and it's just not made the theme of a deck at all. And I just do not know why, because there's a lot you can do with that, and also the fact that the original the Champions of Kamigawa deck, none of them are blue. So this is a way of getting some blue in there as well, some representation of that colour. So let's look at the deck list of what I put together for this. So this is Arcane Secrets. So we have 14 creatures, 16 instants, 3 sorceries, 3 enchantments, 2 artifacts, 24 land, and we have a mana curve off the side there. So we're leaning more towards blue in this deck. But we have some red in here, so basically it's blue-red spells, which is a strategy we see a lot in kind of recent sets. That's the go-to kind of safe space for blue-red. We'll do spells, blue-red spells, bounce and burn. It's a classic combination. Anyway, so let's look at the cards they put together. I'm not going to talk about these too much. I'm going to kind of whiz through them because I'm not really assessing what their places in a deck that someone else came up with is. This is just kind of explaining my reasonings why I put these cards together and why I think it would, I don't know, maybe be a better play experience than say Spirit Bane. So this it's really confusing to me why there was no deck featuring this combo, because I mean, talk about an easy way of filling up card slots, right? So the Unspeakable is one of the rares in the deck, and it's kind of like the main rare of the deck. So the Unspeakable is 9 mana for a 6/7 with flying and trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can return an arcane card from your graveyard back to your hand. So, big, stompy, big blue creature, really expensive to get out. But is it expensive to get out? Because Champions of Kamigawa contained this little 3-card combo to try and get it out. So, you have Peer Through Depths, Reach Through Mists, and Sift Through Sands. So Peer Through Depths is 2 mana. You look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal an instant or sorcery from among them, put it into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom. Reach Through Mists is just 1 mana to draw a card, and Sift Through Sands is 3 mana to draw 2 cards, then discard a card. And then, if you have played a spell named Peer Through Depths and Reach Through Mists this turn, you search your library for a card named the Unspeakable, and it goes straight into play. So potentially, if you have 6 mana open, and like you draw just really well, like you have these spells already in hand, or like you draw them because they all essentially let you draw cards in some way, you could drop the Unspeakable at instant speed with 6 mana. And I know, I just think this is like really fun. Like if you were, I know, like a newer player and you picked up this deck and you saw these cards, are like, well, these all go together, and this is like a really fun strategy. Like you would, I know, just feel really cool to like have all these cards. You go, bam, 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 and then slap down the Unspeakable because you managed to get all your spells off in right order. I just think it would have felt really good. I really wanted to put 4 each of these in, but it just took up too much deck space. But that was my thoughts. This is like the showcase of the deck, the Unspeakable combo. And then some red spirits. So it was actually really tough finding a another rare that fit this deck. And in the end, I just went, oh, you know what? We'll just have Ryusei, because he's just a big 6 mana 5/5 flyer, and when he dies, does 5 damage to everything. Yeah, just have like one of the big flashy red dragon spirits. Whatever, it's fine. Like, why not? Let's just have a big old flying dragon as one of the other rares. And then I thought, like, just a bunch of other random spirits, really. So Earthshaker, whenever you play a Spirit Arcane spell, does 2 damage to every creature without flying. It does include itself, so there's a bit of anti-synergy maybe, but like it was literally the best I could, could get from the deck, really, or from the available card pool. Pain Kami is just a 2/2, and you sacrifice it to do X damage to a creature, so find another burn spell, really. 3 Emberfist Zuberas, so the Zuberas are all great in my opinion. 2 mana for a 1/2, and when he dies, it does damage to target creature player equal to the number of Zuberas that have died this turn. And then we also have 3 Floating Dream Zuberas, so it's like burning what's it called? Burning Emberfist. So Floating Dream, except you draw a card for every Zubera that's died this turn, so that's good. So that helps you find your the pieces of your combo to summon the Unspeakable. 2 River Kaijin, it's just a blocker. Sire of the Storm gives you a card draw every time you play a Spirit or Arcane spell, and also as a 3/3 flyer. And you've got, the whole deck is Spirit and Arcane spells, so you get that down, you're drawing a card every turn. Helps you find your combo for the Unspeakable. Single Jade Idol just turns into a 4/4 creature when you play a Spirit or Arcane spell, which is okay, gives you a bit more muscle. And then in terms of spells, so I tried to pick as many that had Splice on them, so that would be the other strategy, that you would splice these big spells together to so the idea would be you're casting essentially like maybe 3 spells, but at the cost of only 1 card, that kind of thing. So 2 Consuming Vortex, this is like the bounce spell. Quite high splice cost, but that's fair for a bounce spell, I think. 2 Dampen Thought. So it's 2 mana for a player to mill 4, and it has splice as well. So this is like the first time really like so this is the point in the games where mill was starting to become more commonplace. Like up until then it hadn't been. Maybe like Millstone was like maybe the most that was really doing it, but this is where it started to start showing up on spells, really. A single Eerie Possession, this is just like a tutor to get an arcane spell. Single Blind with Anger, I think it's just a good effect. I really like it. Just it's active treason at instant speed. 3 Glacial Raise, this would have been the like again one of the main cards. It's just a burn spell to kill off small creatures, and it's just good splice material. And 2 Lava Spikes, just burn to a player for only 1 red mana to do 3 damage. Is pretty good at the time. The blue and the red Hondens. So Honden Infinite Rage is just more burn, and Honden of Seeing Winds is more card draw. So it helps you, again, find your pieces for the Unspeakable. And Sensei's Divining Top is another card that helps you, find the pieces you need. So that was Arcane Secrets. So now we skip ahead to Saviours of Kamigawa. So let's say, it got to like the final day and they'd be like, you know what, this Soratami's Wisdom deck is rubbish. No one's going to like it. Come up with something else. And I'll be like, oh, how about we do another Samurai deck? And wait, you might say, we've already had a samurai deck. We had a samurai deck back in Champions of Kamigawa when, when samurai were new and exciting. And I'd be like, yeah, that's a fair point, but this one is going to be red-white. And also, that logic doesn't make sense because we've had a load of decks that care about spirits that are all the different variations of spirit and arcane spells. So why not give the samurai like another shot, basically? And everyone would applaud and be like, "You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Make a red-white samurai deck." And I'd be like, "Well, thank you. I had one prepared." So we have 25 creatures, 8 instants, 3 enchantments, 2 artifacts, and 24 land. Mana curve off to the side there. Again, we are still leaning more heavily into white than red, just because that's mostly where all the samurai are. However, one of the one of the rares of the deck, and I feel the face of the deck, is Isuka the Ruthless, who is this really cool legendary samurai from Saviours. So he's 5 mana for a 3/3 with Bushido 2. And you can spend 2 cards in red and sacrifice the samurai and give all your other samurai double strike until end of turn, which is like, I think it's just a super fun effect, really. Just give your whole board double strike. What's not to love? At a small cost of just killing, making one of your other samurai commit harakiri, basically. I think Izuku is a pretty fun card, and this deck I think would have been a good chance for him to kind of show off and make kind of like a big swingy play. And then we have kind of like the other like red samurai to support this. So Ronin Cavekeeper is 6 mana for a 4/3 with Bushido 2. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of these cards are very expensive and not great, but I do think this is still like this would have been better and more fun, more importantly, for like a newer player than the Soritami's Wisdom deck, which is honestly not great at all in my opinion. Ronin Cliff Rider is 5 mana for a 2/2 with Bushido 1, but whenever he attacks, does 1 damage to every creature the defending player controls, which is, I think, like a really strong ability. A Sokenzan Spellblade, 5 mana for a 2/3 with Bushido 1. You can pay 1 cast and 1 red to give it +X/+0 to 10, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Unfortunately, you're in red and white. And at this time in the game, like, neither of those colours have, like, any card draw. But I think even giving, like, +2/+0 with that ability is fine, And then 2 Battle Mad Ronin and 2 Ronin Houndmasters. So, these are the common red samurai. These are both perfectly fine. Battle Mad Ronin is actually more of a deterrent than it looks on paper. Just the fact it has to attack every turn is possible. But, like, the fact it's got Bushido 2, like, I always found in my experience people were, like, always really unwilling to block it because it punches up really well, goes up to 3/3. And Ronin Houndmaster is just, I think, just pretty good. Like, just 3 mana for a 2/2 with haste with Bushido's, again, perfectly good card, I think. And then we go into the White Samurai, and this is like where the majority of the Saviours cards are. So we have 2 Hand of Honors, so 2 white mana for a 2/2 with Pro Black and Bushido 1. So it's essentially Kamigawa's version of White Knight, which is fine. 2 Inner Chamber Guard. This is honestly, in my opinion, pretty bad, but I just threw it in here because like needs to fill space. So 2 mana for a 0/2 with Bushido 2. So when it attacks or blocks. Whenever it blocks or becomes blocked, it goes up to 2/4, which is okay for 2 mana, I guess. But the thing is, like, this is completely useless when attacking because no one's going to block it. It's a 0/2, but if it had Vigilance, it'd actually be pretty interesting as a card, I think. Anyway, 2 Indebted Samurai. So this is kind of like one of the other key cards of the deck. So 4 mana for a 2/3 with Bushido 1. Whenever a samurai you control dies, he gets a +1/+1 counter, which is okay. Let's say you got a deck full of samurai and they're all going to be dying. 4 Araba Moth Riders. Can you tell I really need to fill deck space? So 2 mana for a 1/1 fly with Bushido 1. Yep, sure. 5, and then a Kitsune Dawnblade. 5 mana for a 2/3 with Bushido 1. When it ends the battlefield, you can tap a creature. I mean, it's pretty expensive and it's a pretty underwhelming effect, but like, I'm gonna be not gonna lie. Saviours of Kamigawa, there's not a lot to work with. There's a very limited card pool. A Silverstorm Samurai, 6 mana for a 3/3 with Bushido 1. It has flash. Again, it's kind of overcosted, but it is what it is. And then 3 Devoted Retainers, 1/1 with Bushido 1, yep, and Kitsune Blade Master, probably the best of the Fox Samurai, 3 mana for a 2/2 with Bushido 1 and First Strike, yep, perfectly good. And then just some equipment. So an O Naginata, so it's 1 mana. It can only be attached to a creature with power 3 or more, and then equipped creature has +3/+0 and trample and equip 2. So it's very cheap to cast and equip, but obviously you've got to jump through that hoop. Fortunately, all your stuff has Bushido, so if it attacks or blocks and it gets that power toughness boost, then it might be easier to get the O Naginata on them. And Ronin War Club, this is 3 mana, gives +2/+1, and it automatically equips itself for free when you cast a creature, which is, I mean, that's pretty fine. And then the other rare of the deck is Promise of Bunrai, which, like, honestly, I just put this in here because it has a samurai in the art. Like, again, like, the rares available in Saviours of Kamigawa, not great. But this is okay. When a creature dies, you sacrifice Promise of Bunrai and you make 4 spirit tokens. Sure. Hail of Arrows just deals damage to attacking creatures. Yep. Tarashi's Verdict kills attacking creatures with power 3 or less. Yep. Curtain of Light makes an attacking unblocked creature become blocked and you draw a card. I don't know why it words it this way. I don't know why it just doesn't say target attacking unblocked creature like does no damage. I don't know why it has to say like becomes, I don't know, but you get to draw a card from it at least. A single 100 Talon Strike, so 1 white mana to give a creature +1/+0 to the end of turn, and first strike. So yeah, like a fairly decent combat trick, I think, for any single white mana. You can splice it as well. Hasn't got many arcane cards in here that you could splice onto, but yeah, the option's there. You got to have 2 Call to Glory, so this is the Samurai buff spell. Untaps all your creatures and give all the Samurais +1/+1. 2 Captive Flame. I put 2 of these in there because I think this is actually a pretty good card. So 3 mana enchantment. Basically gives all your creatures fire breathing. You can pay 1 red to give any of your creatures +1/+0 to the end of turn. It might not be wonderful in this deck as is, just because there's more sources of white mana than red mana. But I throw it in anyway. You know, it's fine. And 2 Pathfinder's Flame just gives your whole board +2/+0 to the end of turn. So those are the decks I put together. The blue-red arcane secrets and red-white swords of the samurai. What are your thoughts? Did you like these decks? Did you think they were, would have been better maybe than? I hate saying better because it makes me sound like I'm better at designing precons than actual professional designers. So I don't want to say better, but like, what did you think of them compared to the decks that I was disappointed by? And like, these are just the decks I would have preferred to see, I think, rather than saying they're outright better or anything. But yeah, let me know what you think. Put your comments below. But this is the last video for the year. We're going to be back in the new year with looking at 9th edition. And then we'll pick up, and then we'll go into Ravnica, which is a really interesting set to look at. But yeah, so for now, I think we'll say thank you for watching. Hope you had a good 2022. Have a good New Year's Eve, good New Year's celebration, whatever you're doing. And yeah, we'll pick up in 2023, where we'll continue to talk about these Magic the Gathering pre-constructed decks. But until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a great day.